Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Awesome Cast. We've got another awesome interview for you today, and I'm really excited about this one. This is someone that I've been a fan of for a very long time. Mark Hildreth. Mark, thank you so much for making the time.
Absolutely my pleasure. Great to meet you.
Absolutely, you as well. We'll just start this off with an easy one. What have you been working on recently that you can talk about?
Well, I've been actually I'm just finishing up a new animated series called Johnny Jet Boy,
Okay.
and it's yeah, that's going to drop this year. And I'm sure, as you know, I've been working, I've been lucky to work in the voiceover world for a very long time, actually, since I was only about 10 years old. And this series has been really fun for me because it's kind of like The Incredibles. It's like a family of superheroes,
Yeah.
a mom and a dad and two kids, and they're all sort of secretly superheroes, and the two kids are learning how to sort of come into their own and become the superheroes and people that they really want to be. And I used to be, when I first started, when I was only about 10, I used to play the Johnny Jet Boy character, the kid character.
Yeah.
And now it's sort of come full circle. So many years later, now I'm playing the dad, and they played for me the because it's COVID. We've had to, we only go in the studio by ourselves now. It's not like before the pandemic where all the actors would be in the studio together.
Yeah.
So they played me back some of the audio of the actor who's playing the Johnny Jetboy character, the kid, the 10-year-old, and I was like shocked. It was amazing because he sounds just like me.
Oh, wow.
It
Oh,
was
wow.
like I was listening to myself from when I was 10, and it was a really trippy kind of, it makes you feel really old kind of moments.
Yeah. Well, that is wild. So you gave us a great place to jump off there. You said you got into acting when you were very young. What made you take an interest in acting?
Yeah, it's just been something that I have had in my bones since I was very little. My mom and dad were not involved in the industry at all. We don't have any other actors in my family. My mom is an artist; she's a painter, but for some reason, I just gravitated towards it, and I knew that this was what I wanted to do since I was only about 5. Um, and as the story goes, I don't obviously quite remember this, but my dad tells a story. We were in the car together, and there was like an advertisement that came over the radio where they were doing. I grew up in Vancouver, and they were going to do a production of the opera Madame Butterfly at the Queen Elizabeth Theater, which is this 1100 seat beautiful old theater in Vancouver, and I was like, I want to do that, and and he sort of trepidatiously took me to the audition, and I ended up getting the role. So that was my very first professional gig when I was only 5, and I didn't have any lines. I didn't sing or anything, but I basically spent some number of weeks with this wonderful Italian soprano, Maria Pellegrini, screaming at me uh, every night, and something in my 5-year-old brain was like, "This is it. I have found my home." That's sort of how it all started, and it all sort of came about from there.
That's a fantastic story. Kudos to your parents for just being supportive of that at such an early age.
Right? I was very lucky. I'm the oldest of 4 boys, and like I said, there's no other actors in my family. We all do different things, athletes, and all kinds of different stuff. And my parents, spent a whole lot of time driving us all around to, they're driving me to like movie sets. They're driving, other others in my family to the ice rink or the soccer pitch. I mean, they really bent over backwards to support us in whatever we wanted to do. So I was lucky that way. But also, like I said, they're not TV parents, so they they were very supportive, and at the same time, they were kind of generally unimpressed. To be honest with you, it wasn't like they didn't have like stars in their eyes. You know what I mean? They were
Yeah.
the best advice they ever gave me was do this as long as you want, as long as it makes you happy. Um, and if it ever gets to a point where it's too much or it's too stressful or you just don't like it, don't feel like you have to continue doing something because you think you should or because you think you're going to get famous or rich or something like that. Do try to do the thing that makes you happy, and if it ever stops making you happy, quit and do something else.
That's
Which is great
fantastic.
advice for a child actor.
For anyone, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's wonderful though. I'm wondering who else has impacted your career because, it's spanned pretty much the entirety of your life. I have to imagine there's been a lot of people along the way that have helped.
Well, for sure. I mean, outside of your family, because your family is the most important.
Right.
For whatever you do as a kid, your family and your parents are the biggest influence on you, obviously. But I mean, when I got I think I signed with my first agent, like professional acting agency, when I was probably 8 years old or something like that, and I remember walking into the office of this agent's office with my dad, and I saw Michael J. Fox's picture on the wall, and I was like, "We're done here. I'm good. I want to do whatever he's doing." He's been one of my heroes, for the longest,
Yeah.
time, and he grew up about a half hour away from me, close to Vancouver, and was just an idol of mine. And now more than ever, I mean, the guy is just he's just an absolute rock star
Yeah.
on so many levels. So yeah, that was sort of the first person that I guess I looked at and went, wow, I could do that. Because it was someone who I could identify with. It was close to home, so to speak. But yeah, man, there's been a lot of people who have inspired me and motivated me to become a better actor and a better person. Um, I worked with when I was I don't know, maybe 12 or 13. I actually got cast in a movie with Katharine Hepburn,
Oh, wow.
and that was probably the first, like, yeah, major, big movie star or whatever.
Yeah.
Of course, I didn't know who she was at the time,
Right.
but but my parents and everybody around me was really impressed. So I knew there was something special going on there. But if I've been very lucky to have the opportunities that I've had in acting, and you get to sort of rub elbows with all kinds of incredible people. So over the years, uh, you know, uh, there was Catherine, there was Max von Sydow on the Tudors, who did like 11 films with Ingmar Bergman. There's Jeff Daniels and Ewan McGregor and Jennifer Connelly, and so all kinds of really actors who are at the top of our game,
Yeah.
and you learn a lot. You learn a lot from interacting with them. Um, to be honest, like in a lot of ways, a lot of good lessons, and a lot of things like, wow, I want to be more like that, and then some things, wow, I don't want to be like that.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of good lessons to be taken from that. But yeah, those are some of the people that I've been lucky to get to work with.
That's really awesome. I'm just curious, did you ever get a chance to meet Michael J. Fox?
I never have.
Oh,
I
wow.
never have. No, and I hope I do. But he's obviously we sort of run in some of the same circles just because we're from the same place. But
Right.
no, I really hope that I do though. That would be a dream come true.
Yeah, for sure. I hope you do as well. I always just, I feel like those kind of meetings are important.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you get to meet your hero,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean that would be
absolutely.
fantastic, for anybody. I mean, what are the chances? I guess that's part of what makes it meaningful, is it's so unlikely.
Yeah.
Um, but you never know.
And it's one of the things that, like, I just love about doing these interviews because, I don't just, do these just to do these. I do these because, people like yourself have done things that I've connected with, and it's, at some stage in my life been important to me, and it's always I just find really fascinating to get to know people just a little bit, what kind of person they are, what motivates them, and I've always just found it to be just a really special part of my life.
Oh, I totally agree, and it's pretty cool with the way that like social media and technology and internet, has changed the world and has changed my industry and the way that you're able to interact with each other. Because like I say, I've been doing this for a long time now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this really wasn't a thing. You couldn't, there wasn't such a thing as a podcast,
No.
or right, or like sliding into someone's DMs or whatever. That right?
For
That didn't
better or
exist.
worse.
It didn't exist before. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's cool because you can you know on the inside of again with my industry on the inside. For example, when you're sitting in a room with, let's say, Katherine Hepburn,
Yeah.
the experience of her as a human being is very real because there they are, flesh and blood, and it's not there's sometimes sort of a weird like disconnect I find between the world of celebrity or the world of entertainers or the world of in this case anime actors or movie stars or whatever. But the truth is, like, everybody's just a human being, just like everybody else. And not to take away from the achievements or the talent or the skills of any particular person, um, but it's been a really interesting journey for me, to have traveled on the inside of this industry for quite a while now. Um, and to me, the most important thing is, like, who are you as a human being? It's awesome if you can do something really special and do it very well, and I honor that, and I respect that. That's so important to me. That's the thing that I've dedicated my life to, is being excellent at my chosen profession. But I think it's important to humanize people also.
Yeah.
And there's a weird sort of objectification, or in some cases dehumanization, that happens, with celebrities.
Yes.
Um, Really, underneath it all, like, we're all pretty much the same. At least on a just a human being level.
Yeah.
Um, and I love to I feel very privileged that I've gotten the opportunity to interact with some people, like I say, who are at the very very top of our game. Big celebrities and all that. But it's even cooler when you get to have an experience of a person like that for just who they really are, what the essence of them is, who they are as a person, and be able to kind of see yourself in them, so to
Yeah.
speak.
For sure. Yeah, and you're so right about the objectification, dehumanization of celebrities. I mean, it's a sad truth that, every every anime convention you go to, there's somebody that wants somebody to say the line or say this or that, and it's like, they're not jukeboxes. You don't just put a quarter in and get your selection out. It's like they're people. Come on.
Well, I mean, it's sort of context specific. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
if you're at a convention, like, that's kind of the thing, and everybody's everybody, obviously everybody's entitled to have their own
sure.
the thing that they love, right? And it's most of the actors that I know, they're happy to do that. And if you're gonna meet somebody at a convention, that's sort of the context in which you're
Right.
meeting them, which is cool. But I take not to sound like a snob or anything, but I take a little bit of a different point of view on the arts in general, and acting, and the just the creative arts overall. I think I see our job as more than just selling products and being celebrities. I see our job as artists to humanize, to bring humanization and to bring de-objectification forward in the world. There's certainly more than you can. There's so many aspects of our lives that aren't doing that. So and even in the context of a convention, for example, if I meet somebody, like, I'm gonna, give them the respect that they deserved, as a fellow human being.
Sure.
Um, and even if they just want me to say, I'll kill you, or whatever. Uh, I'm like,
Yeah, I'm
that's
sure you
cool.
get that all the time.
It's for sure. And then let's have like let's have a moment together. And you can hopefully you come away with from it, seeing me as a human, and I certainly will come away from it seeing you as a human. And there's more to it than just
Yeah,
I said the silly line or whatever.
yeah. He said the thing. Oh my god.
Yeah. He said the thing. Yeah.
So, as far as acting itself as a profession goes, what's been the biggest challenge for you?
To be honest with you, I'd say in the ballpark of what we were just talking about. Um, it's I mean, acting's a difficult profession on a lot of levels.
Yeah,
There's little to no job security. You know what I mean? It's not like any particular job that you do guarantees that you're going to get to come to work the next day. Although, if you build up a body of work and a level of experience and knowledge and expertise, obviously that does help. But that's tough, and it's taken seriously in some spheres, but not necessarily a profession that's taken seriously, by all people. So sometimes that can be challenging, but most of all, I think it's the marriage of like art and commerce is a very tenuous type of a relationship.
yes, yes,
And
for sure.
so, right, so it's not like every single project that you get to do as an actor is what you might call like a passion project, is something that's like close to your heart and something that you really that really moves you in your soul. But you got to make a living. You got to pay your rent. You got to put food on your table. Um, so yeah, that can be what I'd love, obviously, is to have every project that I do, be something that I can really get behind, in my heart. The reality is that the way that I see it is, I usually say you do what you got to do so that you can do what you want to do. And so it's not so different than most other professions that way. Sometimes you just gotta put your head down and do what you got to do,
Yeah,
so that hopefully occasionally you get the opportunity to do something that you want to do. Yeah, like I say, like that's more or less like everybody's job. But I've been fortunate that I've gotten the opportunity to do a whole bunch of things that
yeah.
that are that are things that I really care about, and really believe in, and think are things that really need to be out there in the world. So it's a challenge, but not one that I really ever complain about.
Just touching off of that, yeah, you mentioned how acting isn't the most stable job in the world. It's also a job where you get way more rejections than than roles you end up landing. And I'm just curious, what keeps you motivated as you go through that process?
Yeah, it's funny. They say there's this quote about baseball, like that baseball's the only game in the world where like if you succeed like 3 out of 10 times, you're like the greatest player ever.
Exactly. Yeah, you're a Hall of
Yeah,
Famer. You just gotta get 3 out of
for
10.
uh-huh. In acting, if you can get 1 out of 10, you're killing it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I've never gone back and counted. It would sort of be impossible to count
right.
anyway. But yeah, if I could count the number of auditions, the number of job interviews, so to speak, that I've done in my lifetime compared to the jobs that I've booked, I think I'm probably at about 1 out of 10, and that's a pretty spectacular record.
For sure.
That's an amazing average if you can maintain that over time. Because you're right, there's a lot of yeah, you're doing a lot of uh, tryouts, and you and you're not making a lot of teams.
Right.
so so the motivation has changed for me because I've done it for a bit. Um, there's obviously there's always the allure of hit winning the lottery and getting the fame and the fortune and um, the adulation of millions and all those types of things. And that was when I was a kid. Obviously, I was like, wow, this would be cool. And then there's a sort of a veneer of that I think sort of wears off over time. whether you get it or not. And then you have to find other motivations. I went to a wonderful theater school. I was classically trained at the National Theatre School of Canada, which is in Montreal, which is a wonderful. When I was there, I had a wonderful experience of, and there were people there who were doing theater and doing acting and working in the arts, for reasons that at first seemed I had a sort of a sense of reverence for, but I was like, what? Why are these people so serious? And as I got to know them better and learned more from them, there is and I was alluding to this just a minute ago. There are, especially like in theater, there are plays that are written that are not written, just for money and just for fame. You start to get to know some of the great plays that are out there, and there's so many. And this is true for, obviously, for film, for television, for animation. We're exploring, like, some kind of moral question. If you read Hamlet or something,
Yeah.
it's really getting down to the brass tacks of, like, what are we doing here? Why are we here? And if we keep doing these, like, crappy things to each other, where's that going to leave us? So I was taught this sort of, like, there's more to this art form, than just kind of the more sort of shallow trappings of it. We're kind of, we're here to ask the important questions of, like, how do you be a good person, and what does it mean to be a good person within a society?
Yeah.
And that might sound very sort of esoteric or whatever, but for me, that became more and more and more important. So, now I go into so many auditions, for example, and I'm like, okay, so if I happen to be the one who gets picked to do this role, I'll be able to move that whole project forward, on some level. I'll be able to, like, bring some humanity to some character, and hopefully you can see that some people will see that character and understand something different about, what it means to be human. And I'm just one person in a long, long line of artists over many thousands of years and many cultures and many different parts of the world, who are part of that long march forward of, like, how do we how do we bring more humanity to humanity? That's very motivating for me. And that, as I say, there's other more sort of logistical things that also motivates me to, like, pay my rent.
Right.
but
Right.
but as well as that, there's this underlying motivation that I feel that is, like, we're part of this, like, incredible heritage that artists throughout all human history are a part of, and that is to, like, express and bring understanding, and inspire thought and inspire emotion and bring meaning to life. Again, I don't mean to sound snobby about it, but that's a very real motivation that I feel. And every time I get to step up to bat and and audition for or perform in a job, that's part of what really moves me to do this job.
That's fantastic. I really appreciate you sharing that with me. I've really enjoyed our time together, but before I let you go, if people want to follow along with what you're doing, how can they do that?
Yeah, so I have a wonderful YouTube channel. I'm a musician, and I've been playing. I'm a singer songwriter, and I've made a couple of records and been playing music since it's for a long time. YouTube / Mark Hildreth is a great place to go, and you can also find me on markhildreth.com, or on Instagram, also Instagram / Mark Hildreth.
Excellent. Well, Mark, thank you again so much for taking the time. Best of luck to everything that you do going forward.
Thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Thanks for listening to yet another production of the OSMcast, your podcast for everything awesome. You can find us online at awesomecast.com, OSMcast.com, or, wherever you find your podcasts, just search for Awesomecast. You can also find us on the social medias, Awesomecast at Twitter or on Facebook. Of course, you can also find our wonderful interview guru, the greatest living interviewer, John Robbins, at J5 is Live. Or perhaps you'd like to follow our amazing editor, Anna, at Angel Darkfire, or just me, at It's Basil Time on Twitter. Our theme song is produced by DJ Inabito, and you can find him online at djinabito.com. And once again, thanks for listening to the Awesome Cast. We appreciate you.